Hello ladies, welcome to Homemaking Radio. I wanted to include women who were not married or were widows and younger women too, children in this, so I kind of experimenting with different names, and I noticed there were several housewife radios already going on the web, so I'm just trying this today, and I'm here because I wanted to have something for people to listen to while they got something done. And hopefully what I'm saying is right along the line of what you need. And I've got my favorite things to listen to, and I thought I might be able to keep you company. I'll try not to interfere, and I won't tell you how to do anything, but I will have a few suggestions. And I don't have any comments on the video channel because I'm making these for my blog. This is just a storage place, so I'm putting a link here. Would you please click that on and go to my blog to listen to this, because sometimes they don't play on the YouTube channel because YouTube has changed so many things you have to click and so many rules that sometimes they just don't notify the subscribers. And so we have found that when they're embedded on my channel, on my blog, that they play. Also, if you would go over to my blog, please, and subscribe to that, then you get other things besides just the videos. You get other posts that are pictures or just stories, and you also get to read all the comments over there, and you may comment too, and I'd really appreciate you commenting, because your comments are where I get my energy. And I enjoy the questions too. They're such a challenge. I'm not saying I'm an expert at any of the things you ask me, but I'll attempt to give my opinion. And I am broadcasting this under my freedom of speech here in the good old USA. And I'd like to have time to talk about that sometime. And under the section of things we should not say, there are certain things you don't say. And it's in regard to dealing with people. And I have 3 sections here that I deal with. And one is getting ready, getting prepared for your day at home, if you're a homemaker, or if you want to be. And the other is a few homemaking tips, and then working around the people in your family or other people. And so I want to let you go and go, if you got something to fold, sort, stack, sweep, whatever, hang out outside, you can take the little device with you and listen as you go. Hopefully I won't irritate you too much, but before you go, I do have something I want you to see that I'm absolutely delighted with. Somebody sent me an extra little bit of money that I had not expected, and when you get a PayPal account and people put money in it, even $5, $15, they give you a debit card in the mail. So I used my debit card at Home Goods, which is equivalent to TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross, and some of these. You can use it at Home Goods, but it's similar to some of these discount stores where they sell salvage or seconds, and they're new. Everything is new. Anyway, I've got to show you this teacup. And I'm wearing a dress that I made many years ago. It's still got it's 100% cotton, but it has a sparkle on it that's, I guess, it's not woven in, it's pressed in. And I'll tell you something about that. I think it was one of those Waverly fabrics. And anyway, here's the teacup. Isn't that beautiful? And now when they sell them, there's a little elastic piece on it that removes quite easily, and this way it transports home just fine. And if you want to use it as a gift, it's all there. You don't have to cushion it. So I'm going to take this off and show it to you. And it's one of those Grace's teaware. Now that's not the same thing as Gracie or Grace China. They're just different things, but it says microwave not safe. Well, anytime you've got any kind of metallic on a teacup, you don't want to put it in the dishwasher or the microwave, although they say it is dishwasher safe. This is probably something different than gold. It's a different kind of metallic, but I don't like to put them in the dishwasher because it will wear the pattern off eventually. And when you go to the Goodwill and you're buying, looking for teacups, you'll notice that there's a lot of worn areas on teacups, and that's because people have put them in the dishwasher. They really weren't designed for the dishwasher. Anyway, I wanted to show you how much this cost. $6.99, $7, isn't that neat? And how pretty it is, and of course it goes with my dress. I haven't seen anything this pretty in such a long time, and it's even cheaper than the one that I showed you yesterday, which was extremely plain. I wish I had that handy and I could get that out and show that to you. I don't want to leave the room, and I only want to speak a few minutes today because I noticed on my statistics that the average attention span, or the availability of your time, was about 15 minutes. So I want to start making them 15 minutes long. I want to show you that one more time. Look at that little gold spot in the middle. And one thing that I like about this is that the gold rim is not actually on the drinking area inside like it is in so many of the antique teacups. I'm gradually changing over to these wonderful teacups from Home Goods, which is the same as TJ Maxx. So anyway, I don't want to keep you here too long. I just want to sit here and admire this cup. It's so pretty. Okay, and then there was one other thing there that it just stole my heart away. There are no children at home, so I just fawn over things like plates until the grandchildren descend on me. And of course, I'm always thinking, my grandchildren would like these. But then I read an awful book, and it said your children don't want your things. It was so sad. This is by Gracie Bone China. I have to tell you how fine this is. It's dishwasher safe and microwave safe. I don't use microwave anymore, but anyway, isn't that gorgeous? Now this is only $3.99, and it's like a tea plate. Look, ladies, I'll post a picture on my blog for you, but look how pretty it looks with this. And so there were only 2 of these in the store when I went. They're getting ready, I think, for future, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day coming up. And there were only 2 there, and I got the 2 because I thought that 2 of the ladies at the ladies' class might like to have they always like to have a new cup to drink out of. And as I bring them in, I take some of the older ones that are a bit worn, and I re-gift them. That's okay to do that. And what a lot of people do is if they don't want them, they pass them on. Nobody's offended by that, but I've got to show you what else. These were there too, and they're the same pattern as this. Isn't that beautiful? Hop on down there if you can and get yourself some. These are a little expensive, $5.99 each. So if you had 6 or 8 people in your family, it cost you about $48 to get 8 pieces. But I got 2, and there were a lot of them there. And this is just new coming in. You need to go down to Home Goods and have a look. And if you have a daughter at home and she likes to drink tea, then I would like for you to go down there and get something like this. I mean, I haven't seen anything this pretty at Home Goods in many years. This is just absolutely gorgeous. I've seen some gold ones, white with gold on them, but they're kind of plain. But this is absolutely delightful, and it's big, and it has room to put your finger in the, a lot of ladies have complained with the antique cups that they can't get a grip on them because the handles were so small. My theory about that is that the teacups that lasted throughout the century were because they were the little children's teacups, or they were for the smaller woman, and there weren't very many of them, and they weren't worn out. And so anyway, I'm just so glad to see this. And I might just sit here and talk to you and hold my teacup because I like it. But I want to show you one other thing. I got this at Hobby Lobby for 99 cents, and it's called a charger. And it's just a plastic plate that you put, instead of a placemat, you put your dish setting on it, and it sets it off so nicely. See what I'm saying here? And they come in so many colors. And so it was really worth it to get 2 of these. And then I put this on top, and I will post a picture of it for you. But you could serve tea and a little sandwich on this, and it's absolutely beautiful. Don't forget to wear a matching apron or a matching shirt to go with it. It seems a bit silly, doesn't it? But it's a tremendous amount of fun. I'm not going to let you go yet. Now, you're supposed to be working, but this is an exceptional day since I had such success yesterday buying those 2 teacups. Now, several people have asked me about my idea that you don't have to have hospitality in your house if you can't. Let's say you have a family that's schedule just doesn't work out. There's too much commotion. Maybe your husband's not on board with it, and or just maybe you're not real confident to have it at home and it puts a lot of stress on you, then I would suggest a tea basket. Now I want to tell you something about this. This beautiful basket comes from the Dollar Tree, and it comes in purple, hot pink, light pink, green, blue, many other colors. And the reason I'm so fascinated with it is it looks like an old-fashioned wire metal basket we used to have in the olden days. We used it in our gardens, you know, put your garden produce in it and bring it in and wash it. Or, you know, a bike basket. I've had this on a little kid's bike before. And so when we go down, they have them in red, they have them in orange, they have them in so many different colors. And I have brought one home and actually spray painted it in the color of my choice. But for making a basket for someone, when you can't have them over for tea and you still want to extend hospitality, this isn't going to cost you very much. It's $1. And then you get a roll of wired ribbon and you can decorate it. And you can also get at the Dollar Tree doilies that are cotton and they're crocheted. Now this isn't one from the Dollar Tree. I haven't had a chance to get down there to get this arranged, but you want to pad it with something. And you can also buy other things like soft, there's baby blankets that make nice little tablecloths that would go with if you needed a color. A lot of people use those baby blankets. They're only about so big and they're acrylic, but they make a nice little tablecloth for tea setting. And then of course I'm in Oregon, so we're big on the stash tea, and this one is wild raspberry hibiscus, and it's an infusion. It's not real tea, but the color, the reason I got it is for the color. And you can also get tea in pretty boxes at Dollar Tree. So I don't care for Dollar General as much as Dollar Tree, because Dollar Tree's their quality is very high and it's always $1. There's nothing over $1. And so then you take one of these. Now this is expensive. I think it's $6.99, but you could find something cheaper, you know. But I'll put this in. The whole deal is you have to make sure everything's well padded and that there's something between this and something hard. And you start setting it down in your basket. I really like these. These are new at the Dollar Tree. They're those blush color roses, and I did my room in blush previously, and I'm still very attracted to it, so I just decided to include it because ladies like things like that. Also at the Dollar Tree you can get a greeting card, you know, in the color you want for 50 cents. So you can and also you can get cookies, you can get anything to have with your tea. This is Lindor, and it's in the white package and everything, so I just stick that down in there and I have myself a little gift thing. Now you can adjust this to the amount of people that you're serving. If you cannot and you don't want to part with a teacup or buy a teacup, and there are more people than you can accommodate, then what I would suggest you do is go get the paper cups that are for hot drinks. They have a little, the ones that have the handle on them. I don't know if you can still get the ones with the handle used to come out. It was plastered against the side of the cup. You could pull it out. You can cut those down into teacup size. And but even without doing that, you can do that, and you can show hospitality by doing this. And there are many ways to show hospitality. It does not always have to be your house, but it's fun to go out and do it away from home sometimes too. Then I have one more tip to show you, and then if you've got something to do, I hope you will. My 15 minutes is nearly up, so I might speak for 20. You know, I like to sew, and of course in my vast array of patterns I invariably come up with a piece that is stray, and no idea what pattern it came from. And of course I have a file cabinet full of old patterns dating from 1952, and I don't want to go through all of them trying to find the number is here. And of course I could find it in there, but it would take me a lot of time, and I don't want to do that. So like here's something that turned up that is just a sleeve, and it says jacket sleeve, and it's a McCall's. This one's a Simplicity, this one's a McCall's, and this one's a Butterick. So instead of spending tedious amounts of time going through my file cabinet trying to find out where these patterns go, I will type in Simplicity 9595 child. I'll type it in and I'll click images and the image will come up, and then I'll know where I kind of in my mind's eye know what, that way I know what I'm looking for, and I can flip through those patterns and that image is there on my phone and I get to see it in my, I'll remember it probably or find it because of the image. So there you can locate all your stray patterns and then stick it back in the pattern envelope if you still have it. So ladies, I hope this has not been too tedious for you and has not bored you. I do have some more things I want to talk about, and I was going to limit this to 15 minutes. And I don't know how I can talk for an hour. I never do. And but I have noticed that the amount of time that people are limited to are about 15 to 16 minutes. And I would like to limit my talk to 15 minutes. If you have something you need to do now, I don't have anything else to show you, and there's nothing going on here. But I do want to tell you one thing about my dress. Is years ago when I made dresses like this, I would make a little twisty to put in my hair to hold up my ponytail. And one thing that I had to remind myself to do was to throw those in the laundry when I threw the dress in the laundry. Otherwise, they don't fade at the same amount of you know, this will stay nice and shiny and new, and this will be all faded. And so then I'm stuck with all these little scrunchies that, and the dress is long gone, you know. So that's what I had to remind myself about. That might not be what you do, but that's what I've done, and it's one of my little sewing tips today, along with the patterns. Okay, so now I want to go on to the appearance, your appearance, because that's how you start your day. Do you ever wake up in the morning and you just already hit with a feeling of defeat, already hit with a feeling of just enormous responsibility, and your brain starts to fly around in all kinds of different directions, and you don't know where to go? And see, homemaking is unique that way because you're not regulated by anyone else. You're only regulated from on high, and only if you ask, and only if you make a determination that you would like to. See, a lot of people don't want to be home because they're not regulated, and nobody's there telling them what to do, and you have to become self-motivated and self-employed. And the beauty of being self-employed is that you're not limited by someone else's scope or someone else's rules or someone else's vision. You can do far more than you would if you had to pass everything through a business meeting or an act of Congress. You've got so much more freedom at home, just like I do. You know, I changed all the colors around recently in my home, and you can wear what you want. You can start when you want. You can make the kind of schedule that you want if you want a schedule. Now, I don't make a schedule. I make a list, because it would discourage me if I said 9 to 10, you know, make my list, and 10 to 11 clean up the kitchen. I couldn't stick to that because it's not exact. Homemaking is not exact. Your kitchen might not take that long, and it might take longer than that depending on what there is. And so ladies, today I want to say, if you've gone through that, where you've got up in the morning and you're already discouraged, then I would really suggest you start with your appearance. But before that, ask God to help you. Ask God to help you to get through the day and to make it productive. You know, we know as Christians our time is limited, and that our lives could be snuffed out at any minute. And also, wake up being grateful for every breath you take. You know, we've all seen our loved ones pass away, and we know they are no more. And when they're gone, there's that little bit of love that's taken out of our lives. And so you want to stay here and be productive and be beneficial to your family, and especially make the day nice for your children. Make them happy. Make them understand that life is worth living. And don't breed in them depression by depressing remarks and contradictory statements all the time. Have you ever been around women who just no matter what you say, they want to say the opposite? Well, I think that part of getting up and getting dressed and getting yourself ready has a lot to do with your attitude. And if you have absorbed some of these negative things, I know that sounds a little strange, but if you absorb some of these things that are not lovely and not good, then it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to face yourself in the mirror. It's hard to get dressed. It's hard to fix yourself up. You don't feel worthy. So I would say, if you're going through that right now, stop and have a prayer, please. And then ask God to help you and make a list of what you would like it to be. What would you like your life to be? What would you like your home to be like? What kind of atmosphere would you like there? And it can be very overwhelming with a family, I know. But I think if you get yourself together first, get yourself together. Maybe you've already fed your children, maybe for breakfast, but I know sometimes I had to, because children's needs always come first. I had to bathe someone, I had to change a diaper, I had to feed someone. And then when they were all settled and they were all cleaned up and fed, then I would take some time in the bathroom and get myself together. And so if you haven't had your shower, you haven't changed your clothes, and now if you're young, you can get away with a lot, You can get up in the morning and not even wash your face or brush your hair or fix yourself up, and you look gorgeous because you have youth on your side. But as you get older, you can't get away with it quite as much. It makes you, when you neglect your appearance, you start looking tired. You start looking defeated and discouraged, all washed up. And so I don't want to discourage you by saying that, but if you have not taken care of yourself this morning, please go and do that. You can pause this while you do that, or you can take it in with you and listen as you get ready. And so today I'm going to give you a housekeeping tip. Might help, might not help, to not look at it as such a huge amount, but find one spot in your house that you can make for a rest for your eyes. Make it neat and tidy. How about just a little corner over by 2 windows? Put 2 seats over there and a little table and some reading material and maybe a little rug, and make it look like a little library area, and just something you can look at that's cleaned up, that's neat and tidy. Just start with one little area, one little thing. And the other thing that I want to encourage you to do is take restful moments where you have a cup of tea. I have to show you my cup again. And I hope they get some more of those. I might buy a whole lot more. And because someone told me once, years ago, do you remember years ago, some of you who are from, 1951, there was we listened to radio a lot, and there was television later on, and there was always somebody telling you how to eat or about the latest discoveries in nutrition, and someone had the bright idea that you shouldn't drink with your meals, that wasn't good for you. Well, for years I followed that advice, and I always had a stomach ache. Well, then, lately, somebody called me and said, it's been discovered that it's okay to drink with your food. So I started drinking tea, and I would have a sandwich with it or some other treat, and felt pretty good. So I wanted to encourage you to drink during the day, and even if you eat at the same time, apparently it's not all that bad for you. But in the olden days, we didn't know about things like that, and we always had drinks with our meals. And so now I want to tell you, make a corner pleasant. Just make something pleasant in your house. A little stack of books, a little display with a teacup and a teapot, something like that. Now I don't show teapots here because I don't collect them. They're bigger and they take up more space. And in my little cottage, which I call the manse, I don't want to have too much of that. However, I do like one once in a while on the middle of a table because it makes a nice centerpiece. And so that is the little pleasant moment, little pleasant spot. And I'd like you to create that for yourself so that you have a place for your eyes to rest. While the rest of the place is in shambles, at least you'll have one little area you can look at that's pleasant, okay? If you can do that, and you can take something bleak and dismal and make it bright and light, that is, that's actually the secret to success, is to never let anything tell you or suggest to you that it's impossible. And when you hear that word, I used to be so mad. When I was 16, I realized that I could not thrive too much in an atmosphere of constant, where someone would constantly tell you why you couldn't do something. I realized that at 16 because my temper would flare when I would hear it. The other thing I wanted to say is be careful not to reveal your ambitions and your plans, because there's always that keeps the fuel, that keeps from fueling these people who seem to exist to tell you why something can't be done. And maybe you can't do it, but here's one of the things is that I learned from business in the US, and that is the beauty of failure is you climb up from that and you realize, well, I won't be doing it that way again. We'll just try it a different way. If it doesn't work that way, you know, sometimes I'll rearrange a room. I've got this idea. I'll lay in bed at night, and just before I fall asleep, I'll think, oh, you know, that room, I should rearrange it this way. And I'll get on Pinterest and get ideas. And the next morning, I'm all excited, and I'll rearrange it. And it doesn't look good at all. It looks good in the pictures, but not in my room. So I don't, have a meltdown and flop all over. No, it didn't work. I think, that didn't work, but I'm going to try something else. And I know that didn't work. So that means also that in the future, I won't be arranging it that way. And it gives me some knowledge and wisdom, because there'll always be a friend that will say, this is a cute room, you should arrange it this way. And I'll say, that doesn't work. We tried that. And so don't resign yourself to mediocrity because of the thoughts in your head. I don't know where they come from. I don't know who planted them there, but there's always the possibility that every idea you have, there's this nagging feeling in the back of your mind that you can't do it. Now, let's say you've got a huge job in the kitchen. You've got stuff piled all over because everybody was eating, and there are things that need to be done and cleaned up. What I like to do, now you might not like this, but this is very motivating. I like to think in my mind's eye of the end result, because you can't just look at something and say, well, that's the way it is, and not see the possibility of improvement. I always look at it as as though someone was coming. That always motivates me. And even in the past, when no one was coming, but I had my family around me more, which I still do to a certain extent. When I had them around me, I didn't want them walking into a house where they would be ashamed because their mom was such a pig. So I cleaned it up just for my own self-dignity, and also for the reputation. Kids talk, don't they? And even husbands, they talk and they gossip. So sometimes they take tales out of the house, and they'll say, my wife just can't keep up, or something like that. And you have to also watch your own negative remarks to your family. You can't get up in the morning and say, I just can't seem to keep up with this, because they're looking to you for what they're going to feel like in their future when they come across similar problems. So you have to let those impossibility thoughts become your stepping stone to success. And it's a lot of fun to outwit the impossibility people, the ones that are always telling you can't do better, you're never going to do anything. And it's always fun to do that. And there are some people, sadly, and maybe you're one of them, that don't want to make a mistake, and that's why they don't want to do something. They don't want to try anything, because if they can't be, quote, real good at it, then they won't try it. I think that is so sad, because everything takes a beginning and baby steps, and there are some people that will not attempt to learn anything because they want to be good at it at first. But what happens is you learn little by little, and you make some mistakes, and you go back and correct them, and then you become better at it. And where this defeating attitude has come from, I have no clue. It's just so strange to be told, you can't, I don't want to do it. Someone will say, I don't want to clean up my house because I don't think I can do a good job. That's silly, because God gave us the ability to at least make a start, to do a stab at it, you know. So don't resign yourself to mediocrity in the home, and ignore the attitude of others who think it doesn't take brains or talent to be at home. Just ignore it, because you could argue that, well, maybe it doesn't take a lot of brains, maybe it doesn't take a lot of talent, but it takes a lot of love, and it takes a lot of dedication, and it takes a lot of determination, and it takes a lot of perseverance. You know what persevere means? It means to take something and stick to it, no matter what the to do it, and no matter what the obstacles. You press forward and press. That word press is very interesting, isn't it? You might look that up in the Bible and see how it is used in many instances. Press. When you press something, put pressure on it. So make the day good for someone else. Ignore the little messages that come in your brain that this is impossible, and just work at it little by little. Be a possibility thinker. Be careful what you share. If you share something about what your goals are, what your ambitions are, either someone's going to be extremely jealous, or they're going to try to thwart you in some way. And the easiest way is through your mind, through infecting your mind with the attitude that it's too hard, that you can't do it, that you're too young, you're too old, you're too feeble, you're not smart enough. Just ignore it. You can do anything you want. And the home is the best place to develop skills and attitudes. And I know women who have even put in their own kitchen floor. You know, nowadays it's so much easier than it used to be. You peel off the back of a tile and you press it down, and things are so much easier. And you can go into a hardware store and they will tell you how to use some piece of metal, a hinge on a door, how to attach it, and you can buy tools that are just the right size for your hand. You can do anything. And so ignore the impossibility remarks. You know, that's not biblical, to let all that stuff, to let these negative things tell you that you can't do it. Be careful what you share. And also, I want to talk about a couple of other things. First of all, I want to show you my list again as I take a piece of paper at the beginning of the day, and it might be the back of a business letter or something that came in the mail, an advertisement, or some kind of an announcement, and I'll divide it into 3 folds. One fold is things I need to do. Another fold is places I need to go and things I need to get outside of the home. And the other things are other interesting notes that I need to put there. And I'll do all that, and at the end of the day I'll just throw it away, and the next day, even if these things don't get done, I'll start all over. So, and this is handy because I can stick it in my purse, and I can take it out and lay it on the cabinet when I get home, and continue to look at it and to use it, and I'm never without it. And every day I find a piece of old paper and do that. So I want to answer a question before I say goodbye to you. I don't get to talk very long today, and hopefully you can use this. Okay, someone asked a question. First of all, I want to talk about what you talk about, things not to say when you're in a group. And I'm only doing it from my perspective, which is American, but it might be similar to your country. You know, I feel like if many of us are Christians and we're following the Bible, we're going to have similar beliefs about what you should talk about and what you shouldn't. And you know, the Bible talks about how we have to be careful not to talk about things that are, quote, done in the dark, and to let our conversation be always uplifting, seasoned with salt, with grace, and filled with encouragement, and to build one another up. I think that that's pretty much universal if you're following Christ's laws and his commands. And so one of the things that I want you to be really careful about, and all of us have to, unless it's a good friend and it's a one-on-one thing, or it's mother-daughter or something like that, is not to talk about too much about the details of your illnesses. you start talking about how sick you are and how what all the things that are wrong with your body, it can actually depress and debilitate and demotivate some people. It also puts a burden on them and makes them worry. And in the olden days, people were rather quiet about these things unless it was someone in their home, someone in their family. I just want to say that kind of puts a blight on tea parties and get-togethers. Ladies also have a bad habit because they did not grow up with this refined manners, and having tea together, sometimes have to be guided away from that kind of thing. And so someone asked the question of how to politely guide a conversation away from personal things that we don't really want revealed in our little gatherings. You meet up with somebody and they start asking questions. And I've warned you before about don't ask personal questions. Don't ask questions. Let people reveal what they want to reveal. But to ask personal questions. Now, I have a problem. There are some people that I actually will go down a different store aisle to avoid if I happen to see them, because they're going to ask me my history from way back 10 years ago, and then they're going to ask what everybody is doing in my family. If I want them to know that, I'll make one of those Christmas newsletters, that tells all. But I would rather them talk to me about me and my personal interests rather than trying to dig up information all the time about everything we're doing. However, there was a lady named Judith Martin, and she had a book called Miss Manners. And I don't think I have that book anymore. She wrote a couple of them. She was a bit salty, it wasn't maybe the type of book you would want because it wasn't all loveliness. There were some pretty parts in there as like how to address people who were not quite living right, and how would you talk to them and that sort of thing. And it was somewhat valuable. I got it because in the 1980s I was a preacher's wife, and I thought I should know a little bit more about how to deal with people that were just a little bit more rough and worldly, and see what how you can keep a conversation at bay, keep people from saying things and asking things that they shouldn't. And so I don't know if you're going to agree with what this woman did and what her technique was, but it's just something to consider, is that she would, when there was an embarrassing question, she would open her eyes wide in horror. And you've seen Nancy Reagan do that on one of the videos where Ronald Reagan was telling the Queen something why he was against welfare. And the Queen is not supposed to be discussing things like this. She's not supposed to be political. So there they were, all dressed up, and he was in his tux, and Nancy was standing next to him in her beautiful ball gown, and her eyes just widened because he was saying, if you start giving people welfare, then you're forever feeding them and they never go to work, or something like that. And so Nancy was just standing there with her eyes wide open. If you ever find that video, it's so funny to watch. But the Queen, she handled it quite graciously, and she says, yes, there'll always be challenges for the next generation. She was so diplomatic. And but that is one thing that this Judith Martin said to do, is to widen your eyes and act a little breathless and rear back. And then if that doesn't work, say, just give a gasp. Go, say, why would you even ask such a thing? Or you might, she suggested that you might, besides giving a gasp, say, oh my goodness, I'm shocked that you would even ask that question, something like that. And of course, if you don't really know how to do that graciously, don't do it, because it could cause things to be worse. And of course, the other thing is to take your friend by the arm, press it rather firmly. She suggested this in this book. Press it rather firmly and said, I just remembered we've got to go say hello to Mr. So-and-so before he leaves. And whisk your friend away and protect her from that. And then as you leave, say, nice seeing you, and just sort of avoid it. Now, some people just have an agenda. They think it's okay to know all these things. And we've been through an era where we've been told we're hypocritical if we don't tell every personal detail of our lives or show everything, otherwise we're hiding something. Now, I don't know when that came into being, but this Judith Martin handled a lot of that in her book Miss Manners, and there were two, I believe there were two of those books, and they were really big, and she had a couple of sections in there that were quite good. You know, what to do when you're sitting next to a bore, or what to do when you're sitting next to someone who's doing all the talking and things like that. But for the most part, I think we all have to kind of figure it out ourselves, because there's really no manual for it. Handling these people that ask so many personal questions, because we haven't been here before, and they didn't come with an instruction book. So generally, I think it's good to act a little displeased and maybe learn to ignore the questions. Learn to ignore and change the subject. So they're asking you a personal question like, how long were you married the first time? And so they're asking you this personal question in front of your children and your husband, and so you just give a little lift of the chin and lowering of the eyes, and say something like, well, now how long have you lived in your house? Or what size dress do you wear? Or something like that. Or what size is your waistline these days? And so this Judith Martin, she was quite humorous and all. She was even on some television shows talking about her book. A lot of people didn't like it because she was quite humorous and blunt, and she knew that we were in an era that needed some manners. So I don't know if you'd want to have that book in your home or not. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I would say basically you need to learn to change the subject and have a list of ways that you could change. You might want to role play with a friend or a daughter or mother. Role play and say, you be the person that's asking all the questions. I'll be the person that diverts your attention. Make a list of things that you could say to distract people. Generally, if you look around the room, there'll be something in there that you could talk about. There'll be something in there like, my goodness, what a beautiful painting that is. Let's go and see it. And you know, you can learn a lot from some of the Jane Austen movies. Remember Emma, when Mr. Knightley was so cross with her, and they had been, you know, in the archery, and she had nearly shot him or shot his dog or something, and he began to argue with her about the treatment that she was giving Harriet and all the ridiculous matchmaking she was interfering that she was doing, and she just changed the subject, and she said, I see the tea is here, let's go have some. And so, you know, think of some things like that. I'm sure that there's no perfect way not to offend, but on the other hand, why is it that we have people today who think that they can offend, but if you don't want to be offended and you want to avoid their questions, that somehow you're the offensive one? And years ago, and I believe it might have started in the 1970s or a little bit later, and that was that people would say that if someone was rude to you, or someone verbally attacked you, or someone gossiped about you, or someone offended you, that it was because you caused it, or they were having a bad day, or they were suffering in some way, or they had just a very unfortunate life, and they defended these people, but never the victim of these people. So we need to reverse that now, and not say that because someone has criticized you or attacked you for any reason, even in the home, even amongst family members or outsiders, that somehow you did something to cause it. And I heard somebody say one time, I said, I wonder why that man is always criticizing that other man. And somebody said, well, because the other man is so defensive. Huh? You know, this attitude, this new attitude that has come around, we have got to put a stop to it. And the only way that you can do it is to, you can cut off the supply of information to prevent it. But don't ever think it's because you did something wrong when these people misbehave so terribly. So I hope that this is this is helpful to you today. I'm trying to make these videos shorter so that my voice will last better and I have a little bit more time to get my housework done. I've got some super hot spots around here that I want to work on, and I don't want to show you before pictures and the before pictures until I've got the after done, because I'm afraid it would ruin your day. So ladies, thanks for coming, and thanks for your sweet sacrificial offerings. I got the most beautiful teacup. And also thank you for your comments, because they're the most interesting. And I can't always, I don't know everything, but I can give it a stab. I can try. And if you got any questions about anything, please leave it in the comments. But if the comments, if Google or whatever doesn't take the comments and you haven't been able to register or make it work, now it does have a delay because it comes into my email first, or it doesn't come into my email first, but they won't post unless I post them. They come into my dashboard first, and I read them, and then I post them. So don't get anxious and post 2 or 3 times if yours doesn't appear right away. But if it doesn't take your comment, go over to my email on the sidebar where it says email me, and I will, and go ahead and email me, and then I'll post it for you. Or if you want it to be private, just let me know. And thanks for all you do. Thank you for your prayers, and I'll see you next time. Bye.